Julius drove into the neighborhood he grew up in. He was not alone. He was moving in a convoy of some really expensive and modern cars, with the police escorting the convoy, armed to the tooth. It was as if a president was passing, much to the dismay and admiration of the onlookers. Julius told his team to slow down near a small market around the corner. He came down from his car. He took a large wad of naira notes and threw it into the air towards the market women. The people in the market scrambled to pick as much cash they could lay their hands on. Julius smiled in self-contentment as he entered back into his car and ordered his team to drive on. He knew this market very well, and he still recognized most of the faces here. He used to hawk tomatoes in the market after school. Even some of the traders in the market recognized him. They all murmured in bewilderment at how wealthy Julius has become overnight. While some admire his newfound wealth, others just could not help but have an erring feelings about the source of his wealth. They all knew Julius' family. They were really poor, and they could not help but wonder what had made him rich in such a short period of time. Julius was the only child of Pastor and Evangelist Mrs. Kehinde. They were a humble Christian family. Pastor Kehinde was the pastor of Covenant Baptist Church. He was poor. The meager salary he received from the mission was barely enough for his little family. But despite all this, his faith in his calling was unwavering. Even Evangelist Faith, his wife, was solidly by his side through thick and thin. And to support the home, Faith would sell tomatoes in the local market, and whenever Julius closed from school, he too would join his mother to sell tomatoes. He would hawk it on his head throughout the market, looking for who will buy. Their situation was very grim. Pastor Kehinde was very unhappy because of the poverty his family was facing. Most days, they were forced to go into fasting, not because they wanted to pray, but just because there was no money to buy foodstuff for the home. This really broke the heart of Kehinde, but he believed one day things would turn around for good in his family. But then, something happened that would change everything. It was on a Saturday morning. Julius was with some of his friends at the football field. They were playing football. But then, while the game was ongoing, someone drove into the arena. It was Akin, one of Julius' childhood friends. He had bought a car, and a beautiful girl came down from this car with him, much to the surprise of everyone. Akin was not from a wealthy background, and everyone just could not help but wonder how come he was able to afford such a luxury. Akin was respected by everyone. Everyone flocked around him to welcome him. Even those older than him all came around to welcome him warmly. Akin immediately ordered some wine and pepper soup for everyone. They all drank and ate, all this while singing praises of Akin, who had become rich suddenly. And soon the news of Akin's newfound wealth quickly spread around the community. All this while, Julius was silent. He was dumbfounded, with so much thought flowing through his mind. He knew Akin very well. They grew up together, and he was bewildered by the level of wealth he was exuding. Even though he had an erring feeling about the source of his wealth, he just could not help but admire the level of respect his newfound wealth had earned him. He was respected by everyone, even those way older than him, and Julius just could not help but wish such respect and affluence for himself. At the moment Julius got the chance, he approached Akin.
My friend, wow, how come you have become rich so fast? Please teach me the secret of your wealth. I too want to make money.
He told him, hitting the nail on the head. Akin laughed while tapping Julius playfully on his shoulder. He took a deep breath and he told him,
Julius, let me not beat around the bush. Yahoo is what is helping me, my friend. And if you are ready, I can take you with me back to the city and teach you the secret of how I'm doing it, so you too can make quick money and enjoy your life.
He told him with a little smile on his face. Julius was silent. He knew what Akin meant when he referred to Yahoo. It was a broad term referring to some form of internet fraud targeted at rich people to defraud them of their hard-earned money. Even though he knew making money through such odd ways was not becoming of a Christian, he just could not help but wish for the life Akin was living. And if Yahoo was the only way he would become successful overnight, he would not mind going into it. Julius told Akin he would think about it and get back to him ASAP, and he left back for home. But on his way home, some worried thoughts were running through his mind. Even though he was very much ready to get involved in fraudulent activities to make quick money, he knew this would not go down well with his parents, who are devoted Christians. He was worried they would kick against it. And he was right. That evening, when he told his parents of his intention of following Akin to the city to learn Yahoo, they were dumbfounded. They just could not believe their ear. They can't believe that a child they had raised with such high Christian standard and moral values would even think of stealing and scamming to make money. Pastor Kehinde tapped Julius gently on his shoulder and he started in a calm voice.
My son, our elders have a saying that what an elderly man sees while sitting down, a child can never see it, even though he climbs the palm tree. My son, you are about to go down a very wrong and dark path, a path of utmost destruction. I know we are poor, but we won't be poor forever. God has better things in store for us. Don't throw away your destiny in search of quick gains. You are still very young. You have a whole lifetime to make genuine money and live a peaceful life.
He advised him with gentle look of fatherly compassion on his face. Even though Julius knew the advice his father was giving him was the right thing to do, yet he could not resist the allure of riches. He wanted to be able to spend money like Akin, and he could not see any other way to make huge sum of money in such a short period of time, if not by following Akin's lead. Julius was very defiant. He insisted he must follow Akin back to the city while paying deaf ears to all the advice from his parents. This really broke the heart of Faith, his mother, and she wept. The very next day, paying deaf ear to all the advice from his parents, Julius packed his few clothes and followed Akin back to the city. His desire for quick gains overclouding his better sense of reasoning. Back in the city, Julius was dumbfounded at the level of wealth Akin had accumulated for himself. He lived in a mansion in Banana Island, the rich side of Lagos. His garage was lined with some really expensive cars. Julia's joy dropped when he got into the house. Akin's house was fitted with some of the most expensive furnitures and finishing, a home befitting for wedding royalties. Akin smiled as he noticed the look of bewilderment on Julius' face. He welcomed him into his home. Julius was surprised to see other young people in Akin's house. They were behind their phone, typing away. They were Akin boys. They too have come under the mentorship of Akin with one goal in mind: to make so much money that they would know what to do with. And in a short period of time, they all welcomed Julius with open arms. That evening, Akin explained the whole scam scheme and all the techniques he will use in chatting with the rich folks to guarantee fast results. And he gave him a good phone so he will kickstart immediately. Julius was very grateful, but then that very night, something very strange would happen. Julius and the rest of the boys were up all through the night. They were very busy behind their phones, hoping to get some really rich folks to fall victim to their scam. But then, at exactly 12 midnight, everyone stopped what they were doing. Akin came downstairs. He was wearing a dark robe. He was holding a pack of white and red candles. He lighted the candles and started handing the candle to each of them. Julius was very surprised. He was wondering what was going on, but the rest of the boys seemed not to be disturbed. They were used to this every night. Julius watched on as Akim and the rest of the boys sang some strange hymn from a black book in their hand, and they started saying some prayers. After a while, Akin went back upstairs, and everyone resumed their activities on their phone, fishing for some rich folks online, as if nothing unusual had happened. Even though Julius was surprised at the strange practice, he kept his cool. He would wait to ask his friend about it once the time was right. So the very next day, Julius brought the topic of the strange prayers before Akin. Akin laughed and answered him.
Oh, my friend, those prayers are very important. You know, we don't use ordinary hands to do Yahoo anymore because all these rich folks are very wise and cautious. Hence, the need for these prayers. When we make these prayers, they respond more favorably to our financial demands. Very soon, I will take you to see our prophet. Once he prays for you, your way would open.
He told him with a reassuring look. Julius was silent. He felt there was something Akin was not telling him, but he just could not place his hand on it. And every midnight, this practice continued. Akin would come downstairs, dressed in his usual dark robe, and carrying the candles. They would make these prayers, and he would go back upstairs. But then, even though Julius knew these prayers were very odd and demonic, he joined them in praying these prayers. If these prayers were all it would take for him to cash out big from this scam scheme, so be it. He thought to himself. But then, as the time went by, something started bothering Julius. His clients were not paying, even though he had done all Akin taught him and was saying these prayers along with the rest boys. Yet luck seems not to be on his side. Yet the rest of the boys were cashing out, much to his dismay. Even Akin, who seems not to be doing anything, was swimming in wealth. Yet, here he was, toiling from morning till night, sourcing for rich folks online, yet zero result. And out of deep concern, he went to Akin to pour out his heart to him. Akin listened as Julius laid his complaint before him.
My dear friend, something is really bothering me. My clients are not paying. I have been under you for some months now, and I'm working really hard. But it's like luck is not on my side. All the other boys are picking money frequently, but here am I, with not even a penny to my name. Please show me the way. I want to make massive money and enjoy the good life.
He told him with a look of worried concern on his face. Akin was very calm and silent, like someone in deep thought. After a while, he replied to him.
Julius, my friend, just relax. Next week, we all will be going to visit our prophet. After he prays for us, you will see immediate positive results and you will cash out big.
He told him reassuringly. These words from Akin gladdened his heart, and he thanked him profusely. Little did he know, great trouble was around the corner. That evening, Akin told Julius he would be following him to the nightclub. Julius was very happy because this was the first time Akin was inviting him to follow him to a nightclub. He immediately dressed up and they both left for the club. At the nightclub, Julius was in total dismay at the way Akin was spraying money. He ordered some of the most expensive wine in the club while throwing so much money away in the air. The ladies were cluttering around him, just like the way bees are attracted to honey, because of the level of wealth he exuded. Julius' mouth was wide open in dismay. Akin was spraying money as if he had a well of money in his bedroom where he could fetch money endlessly from. And throughout that week, Akin makes sure to invite Julius to escort him to the nightclub where they will party hard. The moment they leave the club, the ladies would follow them to their hotel room. Akin would allow one of these guests to follow Julius to his hotel room while the rest will spend the night with him. But then, Julius soon started noticing something very strange. Whenever he asked Akin to give him some money, he would refuse bluntly, complaining bitterly that he does not have any money. But then he was willing to buy him any amount of drink and smoke he wanted, and pay for some of the most expensive hotel rooms for him, and pay for some really high class guests he would sleep with. This really baffled Julius. He just could not make much sense of this. All the same, he decided to be patient. Besides, Akin had promised to take him to his prophet for prayers, and he just could not wait to start making money just like Akin. And the day to pay the prophet a visit soon arrived. Julius was in high spirits. He joined the rest of the boys, and they all drove off for the prophet's place. Hey, before we jump right back into our story, today massive hug goes to Domion, watching from Jamaica, and Miss Vanessa, watching from Oka, Anambra, Nigeria. Thank you so much for the love and support. Where are you watching our story from? Type it in the comment section so I can send you a hug in the next episode. Also, don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to Anita Chocolate. Alright, back to our story. But then when they got there, the sight that greeted Julius was unlike anything he actually imagined. The prophet's church was situated by the back of a lonely river. It was not really a church, it was more like a spiritual house with bloodstains, probably from sacrificed animal on some parts of the walls, with some bizarre sculpture work around the compound. This sculpture work were equally stained in animal blood, with smoke coming out from the clay pot in strategic place in the compound. Julius was afraid. Akin noticed his apprehension, and he told him there was nothing for him to be worried about. Anyway, Julius sat and waited, hoping for the best. While they were awaiting the prophet's arrival, a group of other young men also drove into the compound. They too had come to pay the prophet a visit, with the same goal in mind, for their client to pay them without any obstruction whatsoever. After about 30 minutes of waiting, the prophet came out to meet with them. He was a chubby man with pot belly, dressed in red and black attire. He was holding a scepter in one of his hands and a live bird in the other hand. They all arose and bowed to greet him. The prophet signaled for them to follow him, and they all did. They went straight to the river bank, where he instructed them to pull off their clothes, remaining only their boxers. They took water with buckets from the river. The prophet prayed on the water while throwing some herbs into their water, along with some native chalk and incense. That done, he told them to start bathing with the water. While they were bathing, the prophet took out naira notes and started spraying the money into the river while shouting in some strange language. After that, the prophet brought out some live goats, one for each of them. He started speaking in some strange language while touching their forehead and rubbing it on the goats. After that, after that, he instructed them to throw the goats into the river. Julius felt very uneasy. He knew everything was wrong. He thought Akin was taking him to a church for prayers, but here they were, in a shrine, indulging in some fetish practices. But then, even though he was uneasy, the halo of riches and the promise of great wealth overshadowed any iota of fear in his mind. And together with everyone else, Julius threw his goats into the river. But then, this was when something strange happened. Even though goats can swim, all their goats started sinking to the bottom of the river, one after the other. It was as if a strange force was pulling the goats down into the river depths. The prophet smiled in self contentment. Everyone was very happy and jubilant, except for Julius, who could not really understand why the goats were sinking to the bottom of the river. But then, while this jubilation was ongoing, everyone could not help but notice something strange about the goat Julius threw into the river. It was swimming away. It did not sink along with the rest of the goats, much to the surprise of everyone. Even the prophet was dumbfounded. His jaw dropped in great surprise. This was the first time this was happening. Anything that is thrown into the river after the ritual must be taken. Julius was confused. He wondered what the commotion was all about. Some of the other boys started urging him to jump into the river and grab the goat before he gets away, so that the prophet could repeat the prayers for him and so that his goat would sink to the bottom of the river along with the rest goats. But Julius was terrified. He refused bluntly because he did not know how to swim. Anyway, the goats swim off to the other side of the river, and they all soon returned back to the prophet's shrine. All this while, Julius never knew how lucky he was. If he had jumped into that river to grab the goat, the deity in the river would have taken him immediately, and his body would have been lost forever. Where they soon returned back from the prophet's place. The very next day, something strange started happening in Akin's house. Akin received a terrible news from home. His mother had just died mysteriously last night in her sleep, even though she did not show any sign of ailment the previous day. Julius was there when the call came in. He was surprised that Akin was very calm. He did not roll on the ground and weep like someone who had lost such a close relation. He opened a bottle of wine and started sipping it quietly, much to the dismay of Julius. But then, to Julius' surprise, all the other boys started receiving calls from home. They had each lost a very close and important family member. And just like Akin, they did not cry. Some even had a look of contentment and great expectation on their face. They all joined Akin in the living room and started drinking and smoking, while talking in low tones. Julius saw all that was happening, and it began to dawn on him that the sacrifices of goats they did the previous day was not ordinary. The spirits of their loved ones have been invoked into these goats, and the death of these goats marked a sure end for each of their relatives. Julius was terrified, even though he was ready to do anything to make money. The thought of using his relative for money ritual sent a cold shiver down his spine. He went into his bedroom and with shaking hands and tears welling up in his eyes, he dialed his mother's telephone line for the first time in months to see if she was still breathing. So here bring the first part of this story to a close. What do you think would happen in the part 2 of this story? Will Julius' mother survive? Will Julius come to his senses and retrace his step? Or will he succumb to peer pressure and indulge in money ritual? Find out in the second part of this story. Thank you for watching today's episode from Anita Chocolate. Please don't forget to support my work by subscribing to this channel and leave a like on this video and share it with your loved ones. Please turn on the notification bell so you will be the first to see our future upload. Please watch these other amazing stories from our channel displaying on your screen while waiting for the part 2 of this story. Bye.